All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us at our town hall this afternoon. I know it's a busy week, so I appreciate you making the time to log in and join us. And just a reminder for those, there is another session next week because we recognize this is a very busy week for childcare operators. But thank you for joining us today. And I'm going to start us off with a land acknowledgement. The land I'm on today is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. We acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and in Scarborough, east of Woodbine, the Williams Treaties, signed with multiple Mississauga and Chippewa bands. I am a settler on this land, and I share this land acknowledgement as a small yet significant way to show respect and acknowledge the presence of Indigenous people in what we now call Canada, past and present.
The African Ancestral Acknowledgement. Though I'm not a person of African descent, I am committed to continually acting in support of and in solidarity with Black communities seeking freedom and reparative justice in light of the history and ongoing legacy of slavery that continues to impact Black communities in Canada. As part of this commitment, I would also like to acknowledge that not all people came to these lands as migrants and settlers. Specifically, I wish to acknowledge those of us who came here involuntarily, particularly those who brought to these lands as a result of the transatlantic slave trade and slavery. In support of the City of Toronto's ongoing efforts to confront anti-Black racism, I pay tribute to those ancestors of African origin and descent.
Thank you, Robin. So our agenda today, I'm going to start us off with a welcome and overview. Dina and Robin are going to walk us through some Canada-wide updates. I think you'll be excited to see some of the tools and resources they're going to have available to demo you today or to show you today. And then we'll be talking about next steps. All right, so before we jump into Canada-wide, just a very quick update because we have you here. Just want to let you know that rapid antigen tests will be available for locations not located in schools, and that will be happening in September. An e-blast will be going out to the sector so you can choose your appointment times to pick up your test. And we're planning for distribution around the third week of September. So just watch out for that. All right, now in terms of Canada-wide, go back, sorry, you can go back. Got a few things on this. In terms of the general update, Children's Services, just to remind people where we've been in the last, couple months, I guess. Children's Services reported on the Canada-wide early learning and childcare system at our Economic and Community Development Committee meeting on July 6th. The report was adopted and it went to council and was approved on July 20th. The report really shared details of the program and it described Children's Services' role as the service system manager for the childcare and early years system in Toronto and our role in terms of administering the Canada-wide early learning and childcare program. Following the June 22nd Operators Town Hall, which many of you attended, Children's Services staff held several information sessions with various groups, including some childcare operators who don't currently have a service agreement. We also held a dedicated town hall for home childcare agencies, and we continue to share information with the sector as it becomes available, including through today's session. In today's session, you'll hear more about how to access the tools, resources, and supports that you need and how those will be made available to you. Today's session will be recorded and a Q&A function is available for you to ask questions. We will make every attempt to answer your general questions throughout the session. However, if we're unable to, we will get back to you through your district consultant. Next slide, please. So this is a slide you've seen before, really just a reminder about Ontario's action plan for the Canada-wide early learning and childcare system. So as you know, the plan takes a 5-year phased approach to achieve the key objectives of affordability, accessibility, a valued workforce, inclusion, and enhanced data and reporting. As you're well aware, early action for 2022, even as noted here, the early action was focused primarily on improving affordability for families and workforce compensation. And that's really what we've been focusing on as well. However, the other phases or the other areas, some conversation is going to begin in the next couple of months. The province has committed to having some conversation, and that will be with us, but also you as the operators. In April, the province provided guidelines and direction for the implementation of the program in Ontario. But then, as you know, on August 17th, the province issued an amendment to the 2022 guidelines for this Canada-wide early learning and childcare program. The amendment provided further instruction and clarification on the Canada-wide model, and that was made available to service system managers, as ourselves, the City of Toronto, and to licensed childcare operators. So I trust you've all had an opportunity to review that. The amendments included extending the deadline for opting in or out of the system, and the deadline's been extended to November 1st. Children's Services is encouraging operators who have, well, first of all, thank you to those operators who have already opted in. I think we're at about 66% now of the sector has opted in, so thank you to those folks who've done that already. In terms of people who are still making a decision, we really encourage you to make that decision as early as possible. If you still have questions and concerns, reach out. We can try our best to support you with that. But the earlier that people opt in, obviously that means that eligible families will receive their refunds sooner. So that from that perspective, we would encourage you, if you're ready to opt in, and we'll get started on the process with you. I'd also like to note that the province has initiated an advisory group to solicit feedback on a funding formula for 2023. This will impact the Canada-wide early learning and childcare guidelines in 2023 and beyond. Today's town hall, for the purpose of today's town hall, we're focusing just on 2022 implementation, because that is the information that we have available to us. And then finally, before I hand it off, I want to say thank you to you and your boards and your whole teams in your agencies for your commitment and patience as we embark on this new era in childcare. It's very exciting, but appreciate that transformation takes a lot of effort. So thank you to everybody. And now I'm quite happy to hand it over to Dina. Welcome, Dina Warman. Many of you have probably already met Dina or talked to her. Dina is the project director who's been working with the community, but also with us in the city to really plan and manage this implementation. So Dina, I'm going to hand it over to you, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Shanley. So as Shanley already said, and as we have, it really starts with you. It starts with the childcare sector, making childcare available and working through this transformation with us. So we really do want to thank you. We appreciate the challenges, your patience in working with us. We appreciate you working with us and changing when things are changing as well. We know that you are the face and you are getting the questions from your families, and that you're supporting them throughout this change as well. We also want to thank everyone who's opted in and submitted their required information. As Shanley said, about 66% of the sector has opted in. We encourage everyone to make the decision as soon as possible so families know what families know and can access the refunds and reduce fees. And we just really want to continue to work with you and appreciate the efforts that you're making throughout this transition. We know that these changing timelines can also be challenging for you and for your families. And again, just appreciation and thanks for working through this transition. So obviously the biggest thing that we saw in the revised guidelines is a change in timelines and establishment of some service standards. So I want to review these with you. And the first thing to note, it's really important, is that first blue circle, dot, that timeline starts as of August 29th. So everyone who has opted in before August 29th, their time will start with it. 10 days of that is when we'll need to inform you of your eligibility if you've been approved. So that's that first 10 days. The idea of that is that that's when we can tell you if you've been approved. But of course, before we can do that, we have to receive all the required information. So some centers who have applied before August 29th and have received an email that says, we're looking for some information from you, your application is not complete. So your timeline has not changed. So we start the complete application date, and from complete application within 10 days, we will be letting you know your eligibility and if you've been enrolled into Canada Wide. So that just to remind those folks who are still going to submit information, that includes information in regards to your financial viability, your data collection, your fee memo. Right now, once we inform you and your organization of the status, then you have 14 days to communicate to your family. So you can see that blue line is us, Toronto. We have a complete application, and then 10 days. Again, the blue line is our responsibility to inform you within 10 days. And then that 14 days, it's a slight different color. It's green, and that's where you need to inform your families. We anticipate very soon that we'll be informing just shy about 500 centers of their eligibility, of their enrollment, and then you can start communicating to families. And then within that, then we have to sign the service agreement. So what's important is that all of this is encompassing 30 days of us getting back and forth to each other. And before we can send you the service agreement, you have to give us, as we mentioned already and is on our website, things like your articles of incorporation, your letters, patent, and more specifically, the insurance that names the City of Toronto as an additional insured and not limits of $2 million. So when we have that, we can issue the service agreement, and then very quickly, you can return the service agreement. Since August 29th, the service agreement has been on the website and is available for your review. So you can take a look at that and get ready to sign it, because all of this is supposed to happen within 30 days. And really, it's dependent on when we get the information back from you. So when we get the information back from you, we are going to then be able to start making payments. That's that blue line right here that says TCA to make payments to the operators. Once we make a payment to you, you now have 20 days to refund your families and lower your fees. Of course, the quicker you lower your fees, the less you'll have to refund. So, and for a small set, we'll have to set up a vendor ID, and the timing on that is going to be important. We'll need the required banking information and forms for direct deposit. But as you can see, these are the new timelines and the new service standards. One thing I just want to highlight, as I said, we're getting ready to communicate just shy about 500 centers, their status, approval status into the Canada-wide system. We'll be sending out amending agreements. But what's important is that everybody needs to be able to refund the families that have been in their care since April 1st. So if some families have left your center, now is a good time to get that information ready so you can communicate with your families that have been there and maybe have left between this time and April 1st. So that is the revised timeline. And of course, what's important is that we need to review the service agreement and the funding allocation. You have that information because we posted it on the website and you can look at that. But right now, Robin Chen, our program manager for Canada-wide implementation, is going to walk through a few of the highlights.
Thank you, Dina. The service agreement. The service agreement is a legal document between the agency and the City of Toronto, and it basically sets out the funding allocation and responsibilities of the agency. It is a standard agreement. The main body of the agreement is about 13 pages long. A sample service agreement was posted on the Canada-wide website on August 29th for your review. You can access on www.toronto.ca/CWELCC. And on that web page, you can find the sample service agreement in 3 places. Under the tab of opt-in, opt-out for centers, under the tab of opt-in, opt-out for home child care, and under the tab of fee refund/reduction. We do encourage you to review the sample agreement now. As Dina mentioned, from the date of City accepting your complete application, we have 30 calendar days to have the service agreement executed. And as previously mentioned, the service agreement has a main body that is about 13 pages long. And that is used for everyone. And then depending on the financial relationship you have with the city, there will be different schedules. For those of you who never had a funding relationship with the city, your service agreement will include 3 schedules, which is Schedule 14, Online Security and Account Management. Schedule 15, Declaration of Compliance with Anti-Harassment/Discrimination Legislation and City Policy. And Schedule 17, which is the Canada-wide schedule. The Canada-wide schedule, Schedule 17, will then have subschedules, depending on the funding type you will receive. Subschedule 17.1 will be for the affordability funding, and subschedule 17.2 is for wage enhancement and minimum wage offset. Please note, if you currently do not have a fee subsidy agreement, your service agreement will not include a fee subsidy agreement. At this time, Toronto Children's Services is following the existing process to apply for a fee subsidy agreement. That process can also be found on our website. Please also note that we cannot issue the service agreement until we receive all documentation required, including the insurance document naming the City of Toronto as additional insured. We know some organizations are interested to know the process of opting out for 2023. There's no formal process yet, even though the termination clause in the service agreement requires a 60-day notice period to the city. City will work closely with agencies who want to withdraw from Canada-wide for 2023 and will not require a 60-day notice period for the termination of the service agreement. Next slide, please. We also want to talk about allocation. Children's Services is adopting an allocation-based funding approach to fund the 25% refunds/reduction. The allocation is based on the fee freeze rate, the operating capacity, and the number of operating days from April 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022. The allocation should be sufficient to cover your refund/reduction for 2022. Our intention is to make sure that you are financially secured in this process. The allocation is based on 100% operating capacity and not based on enrollment, knowing that not everyone is operating at 100% capacity. This is to say, we're funding the space and not the child. If you look at the right-hand side of the slide, this is a sample Schedule 17.1 for affordability funding. This schedule will show the calculation for allocation, which is fee freeze rate times operating capacity times operating days times 25%. For example, if you look under the infant category, which is the first line of that table, you will see the fee freeze rate is $74.70. Operating capacity is 10, and the operating days is 169. So the calculation for this infant category allocation is simply 74.7 times 10 times 196 times 25%. The fee freeze rate is frozen as of March 27. unless you have communicated fee increase prior to that. The fee freeze rate should not include any non-base fee or optional fees. As Dina mentioned before, there are close to 500 centers that have already opted in and provide all information. For those of you who have done that, you will soon be approved. And once you have been approved and have returned your signed service agreement, you should start receiving payments in the beginning of October 2022 so that you can start refund families soon. For those of you who have not opted in, we continue to encourage you to opt in. Centers and home child care agencies will have 20 calendar days to refund families and reduce fees after receiving the funding from TCS. And centers and home child care agencies will need to refund all eligible children, including children who are no longer enrolled. If you have families who are no longer with your center, but you need to refund, please start preparing for such a refund now, such as confirming the family's most updated banking information. Next slide, please. The 2022 financial reporting requirement. Operators are responsible for managing the refund process, including maintaining supporting documentation. And operators must, as previously stated, must provide families with refunds and reduced fees within 20 calendar days of receiving the payment from TCS. We recommend following your own established policies and applicable accounting practices. For example, how to refund families, what process to take, whether to refund via cash or apply credit forward, your billing practices to follow, etc., is up to the agency's practice and policy. As long as you follow your policy, and then as long as your families are made clear what that process and policy is. Children's Services will develop and communicate a compliance process to review the Canada funding in alignment with the provincial guidelines. A lot of you have softwares to help you process the funding, but if you don't, we have developed tools to help you track and manage. I will now pass it back to Dina to speak about these tools.
Thank you, Robin. Yes, so we're preparing tools for fee subsidy families, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, I wanted to talk about our first tool is a fee refund tool for full fee families. So this will mostly affect for our non-purchase sector and for our purchase sector for full fees. And I just wanted to walk you through this tool. This is an Excel-based tool that can help calculate the 25% refund for full fee families. But just to clarify, and I'll reiterate this throughout, this is not mandatory. You do not have to use it. This is a tool that is meant to help your organization, not create another administrative process. The suggestion of using this tool is only if you need it. Many of you will have software systems that will already calculate the fee refund for you and document that process. That is, feel free to do that, or you've created your own processes. This is simply a tool to help you think about how to do that. We actually, when we were developing this tool, we sought some input from the sector and we've received really positive feedback. I think what it also does is just solidify that how I'm thinking about the refund is actually how I'm supposed to do it. This is a new world for all of us, and sometimes it gets more complicated than just the 25% refund because of the service that families are looking for and receive. So this image right here is the first tab of this tool, this Excel-based tool, and it explains the other tabs. There's tab 1, shows an example of how the tools work. Tab 2 is where the data on families can be inputted. Then tab 3 is the output. Tab 4 is a glossary, and tab 5 is the refund period lookup. So we'll walk through this. Sorry, I forgot to mention that this some of these tools will be very specific for centers. Some of the tools might be useful for home child care as well. And we're working on the process with the home child care agencies around their data collection and what tools they might need. So the first
tab on the fee refund tool is the input tab. And this allows the user to input up to 6 children in a family and multiple fee types and program types. There are instructions, an example, notes, and a glossary that make this tool easy to use. So tab 2 is where you would input the family's information. All the blue cells are where you could input data. At the top block, each child's information is inputted with their name, service offering, refund start date, refund end date, and birth date underneath that. And then you can put fee descriptions and then the frozen fee amount and the number of days. You will see, each child has more than just one fee freeze. And that's because the child could have changed service offerings. For instance, they could have moved from a toddler to a preschooler. So you can input as many service offerings as you needed. There's actually 7 cells for each child. And again, 6 children on this tab. Then the next tab is the output tab. All this information then it calculates the 25% refund for eligible children in a family and the total amount. Once this is calculated, you see the sheet on the left-hand side is by child, describes their service offering, shows their fee freeze rate, their number of days, the total amount of fees that were collected, and then the 25% by child, by detail. And then the block on the right-hand side shows the total summary for the whole family's refund. So what you could do with this, if it makes sense for your center, is you could print this off and give this to a family for their own records to document how much of a refund they were given. And then in this same tab, in this same tool, we have a tab called the fee refund. It's called the eligibility period. And this is because there's still some questions about when a child is eligible in that turning 6 time. So if you have any questions or you're confused about when a child is eligible, what you can do here is you can input the birth date of the child on the top blue block. And then on the second block, you input the date the child was enrolled. And then it will calculate in the gray box when the child turns 6. And then in the black box, it will show you when is their eligibility and what you would refund. So if you have any questions, you can see that this child, its birth date is November 5th, 2016. They were enrolled on the 1st of January, on the 25th of January, 2022. Since they turned 6 on November 5th, 2022, their eligibility period is from April 1st, when Canada-wide started, till November 30th. So this is the end of their birth month. And that's an important feature that changed that we'll highlight on the next slide. So here, we know that the funding under the Canada-wide system is intended to support children under the age of 6, so 0 to 5, but with some exceptions about when their birthday is early or when they turn 6 and are still enrolled in kindergarten. Eligible children for whom fees must be reduced are defined in the regulations. But the change that came out with the new guidelines is that any child until the last day of the month in which the child turns 6. So it doesn't matter what eligible program they're enrolled in. It's either, up until June 30th, if they're turning 6 within that period, or until the last day of their birth month. So that's why we've created that extra tab in the fee refund calculating tool. And this is an additional tool of how you can explain to
your board or to your families on how to refund on when a child is eligible and then the corresponding refund. So this tool is a PowerPoint presentation that you can share, but I'm going to walk through it. And the idea here is, yep, go ahead. So we're in 2022 and a child is enrolled in care on January 5th, 2022. And we know that the refund period starts on April 1st, 2022. And then the child turns 6 on November 5th. So this is the same example as the one that I just walked through in that tab that calculates it for you. So they turn 6 on November 5th, but the new guidelines say they're eligible until the end of the month. So they're eligible until November 30th, 2022. So that means that the Canada-wide eligibility period is from April 1st until November 30th, 2022, until they turn 6. So just to emphasize, the whole time they were 5, they were eligible. And then the birth month that they turned 6, they were eligible until the end of that month. Let's walk through another example. So in this example, a child enrolled in care on May 1st, 2022. So even though the Canada-wide started on April 1st, their eligibility starts the day they enrolled on May 1st. Then the child turns 6 on September 5th. And then the end of September 30th, is the end of their eligibility period. So they are eligible for a Canada-wide refund between May 1st and September 30th. And here's the last example. A child enrolled in care on January 25th. The Canada-wide refund period starts on April 1st. And the child turned 6 on February 25th. So now the child is already 6 when the program starts. But they're in kindergarten and the Canada-wide refund eligibility ends on June 30th. So they get until the end of June 30th to be eligible. So from April 1st till June 30th, they're eligible for Canada-wide. So the first slide and those 3 examples are packaged into a separate PowerPoint that can help explain the eligibility period and can be used as a tool. The next tool is a fee summary report. This is another Microsoft Excel-based tool called the Canada-wide 2022 Fee Summary Report. Again, operators can choose to use this. This is just a report that can be used to record the details of all the refunds you provided to families. So the idea here is that if you use tool 1, that calculated the individual refunds for each families, then you could capture those refunds on this summary sheet and you would know the full amount paid in refund. Again, you might already have software that does this for you, and this is not mandatory to participate in Canada-wide and does not need to be submitted to us. But it's meant to help you consider what documenting and refunding looks like for your organization. So the idea is that you need to develop a process, use your existing tools or use these tools to ensure that you have good financial records of how you process the refunds. The idea is that once these tools are finalized, they'll be available through your district consultant, and that will be after the next town hall, September 13th, that next one. And here's another tool. This is specifically for our purchase sector. So our purchase sector, meaning those folks who have fee subsidy agreements. So this report will help you figure out how much to refund fee subsidy families. So as you know, our purchase sector, we use a fee collector approach. And so there could be children that you're not aware of in other other centers or home child care agencies that need to be considered in calculating the refund. And so where there are multiple subsidized children in different centers for the same household, this report will support the operators to understand the fee collector. The report will show each fee collector child, how much the daily assessed fee is, how much the daily Canada-wide reduction is, and then a new parental fee. This shows the information daily. You can see in the first couple cells, that's the daily fee reduction. It also shows the information by month based on potential days. But as you do normally with your invoicing processes, you would refund the families based on the actual days paid, based on your actual attendance. So this is a tool that you can use specifically around the daily amounts to cross-check it against the attendance back all the way back from April. Families will also see this information, the assessed fee, the Canada-wide reduction, and the new parental fee through the My Child Care account. We anticipate that this tool will be available in early October, which aligns with the first batch of payments for Canada-wide that we anticipate. This tool is really critical for our fee subsidy, for our centers that have a fee subsidy, to help with the administration of how much to refund each family. So now we can talk about where to find this tool when it becomes available. So as you normally would, you would go to the online services, and then the Canada-wide fee reduction report is hosted in the attendance application. And as you normally would, you log in with your user ID and password as you do for your attendance. So on the top right-hand side, you'll select application. You'll see the cursor is highlighting those red boxes. And then you'll select the attendance application landing page. When you get to the landing page, you select attendance once more at the top, and then you select reports. And then here you would see a new report called the Canada-wide CWELCC Fee Reduction Report from the drop-down list. So this is the list of reports that you normally look at when you're processing attendance. So it's a new report that will be added, and that you click on that, and then you can look up by year and by month. So again, this and then when you select it, it will download as a PDF, as it normally does for your child care center or for your home child care agency. Again, the fee reduction, fee subsidy reduction report is only available to child care and home child care agencies that have a service agreement, because it's only related to those with subsidy, children related to subsidy. This monthly report will provide the fee collector who is attending the home child care or the child care center a breakdown of the daily and monthly fees for families receiving a fee subsidy and their eligibility for Canada-wide. As I mentioned, the estimated time is that we anticipate this will be ready early August, which aligns with our payment process. So again, it's really critical. We hope that most, if not all, our purchase sector will opt in early so we can process this report and be ready to refund fee subsidy families. If you have any questions, please reach out and ask us so we can help you process your, we can process your application to opt in so you can access these reports and support families by giving them their refunds. So all the tools I mentioned will be available through your consultant, except for the fee summary report that will be available through the online portal. And the idea is they will be available after the next town hall, which is on September 13th. You may want to discuss or demo these tools in upcoming network meetings if you want more details. So we wanted to touch on workforce compensation. We know workforce is important, and we'll be following up in a separate process for those centers that have eligible staff paid under the wage floor or the minimum wage offset. Again, I want to reinforce, and we have been doing this, but it seems that there's still some myths out there about what the wage floor is. The wage floor of $18 an hour this year is the minimum you can pay a RECE if you are going to participate in Canada-wide. That's the least you can pay. You can't pay anything less than that. You can pay more, and we want to see a well-compensated workforce. You do not have to lower your RECE staff's wages. So there's still some myths out there that wages will be lower. You do not have to lower your staff wages. This $18 an hour is the floor, not the ceiling. So I just really want to make sure that is well understood and bring that home. So we'll be following up on those. We'll be following up on the process on how we're going to collect that and pay that information. Sorry, pay that funding. But just a reminder, if you want to access the workforce compensation funding, you do have to apply for the provincial wage enhancement. And because the deadline was moved for Canada-wide, we've again extended the deadline because of these extenuating circumstances for PWE, the provincial wage enhancement, until November 1st. We know that the deadlines are November 1st, but really we encourage you to opt in as soon as possible. The processing of your application and then funding you and then you refunding your families takes time. And the earlier we can get that started, the better for everybody. Finally, home childcare. We know that you're looking for our data collection form. We're in process. We're almost done. We've been testing it with some of the agencies and we're ready to send it out to you. When we start collecting that data from our home childcare agencies in order to figure out what we need to calculate the allocation, we will be in touch shortly. So again, we just wanted to say thank you and then talk about next steps. We are committed to supporting the sector over the next few months to fully implement 2022 and the 25% refund reduction. We know it's challenging and that this change has changed the deadlines again, but we encourage centers to opt in early. Please reach out to your consultant and talk with them about 2022, about the process for Canada-wide. Again, we're hearing some misinformation and some myths. We know that the Ministry of Education held a session and tried to do some myth busting as well. Our consultants are ready and want to talk to you about what it means to opt into Canada-wide for 2022. They're the best source of information, and I encourage you to reach out to them and make your decision early. As I said, for those folks who have already opted in, and we have the information required, we will be sending you out an email very shortly that says you'll be approved. Then after that, we will send you your service agreement that needs to be signed and returned. When we receive that, we anticipate that we can start flowing money to you in October, the early part of October, again, to align with that fee subsidy report. So please please make sure that you're ready and you understand the steps. And if you need help, that you reach out to your district consultant. We are always looking for different ways to support you. We revise our website. We've developed here, we've shown you some tools and some fact sheets, that PowerPoint presentation. We're looking at more as we try to successfully transition into this this new system. So just a reminder that we do have that additional town hall planned for next week, but for all of you folks here, you can choose to attend, but it's going to be the exact same information. So I just didn't want you to think that different information was going to be shared. It's going to be the exact same information. So you can decide if you want to hear it again. And then again, we're committing to providing updates and sharing information as details get finalized. We're always waiting for more information from the ministry as well. We're really focusing on implementing 2022, processing the applications we received, reviewing all the information, getting the service agreements ready so we can get that money in the hands of operators so that they can start refunding families. That's really what the focus is on. Again, please look at our website if you have any questions. And your first point of contact should always be your district consultant. They understand the system and they can help you understand what Canada-wide means for your center in 2022. Just to highlight some of the key dates again, we've had the June operator town hall. As Shanley mentioned at the top, we had a number of other sessions with groups of operators, including the home childcare. We've been supporting the sector throughout the summer, and we will continue to do so. We have our September town halls now with the new information, with the addendum, and really focusing on 2022 implementation. But still, we have our budget launch for our purchase sector on October 11th. We know that the opt-in closes on November 1st, but we encourage you to do it earlier, and then budgets will be due on November 30th. We encourage you, again, your district consultant is your first point of contact, but feel free to email us at cwelcc@toronto.ca, and we will respond to questions as well. And we just wanted to say again, thank you. We look forward to working with you and transitioning into the Canada-wide system that supports both families and staff. Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon.
This might be-